I just love the name of that, the Biotopians. So yeah, there you go. The God Machine and its creations, the Biotopians. What was another one? Trying to think who else, because there were so many, and I'm trying to remember them all. There were so many villains I created, and so many different storylines I kind of took. Like, I did have Repton and Starling get married, have a kid, Xander. And yeah, they, Repton and Starling, they had a kid. Like I said, kid. I even had Finn and Suzy Lu together. And I even had that Finn left the Stormhawks after Junko's death in one continuity, and he, Starling and him, Suzy Lu and him got together, and they formed like this Robin Hood and his Merry Men kind of group. Yeah, they more or less created a Robin Hood and his Merry Men joint group on this place called Terra Sherwood. Yeah, I named it I named the place Terra Sherwood. Are they gonna, God Machine gonna show up? Is the God Machine of the Biotopians gonna show up in the crossover? We kind of talked about it, but I don't I think Jason said he wanted to wait and see where he wanted to go further with this until he brought in the God Machine. So, in talks for God Machine. Going back to that one. Trying to remember, again, there were just so many characters that I had. So many villains I created. God, just so many. I just can't freaking remember them all. And it sucks too, because I had there were just so many characters I just loved having. I just loved having. Again, everyone in the Sky Knight Academy series, Arrow was the headmaster of the Sky Knight Academy, and Piper was one of the teachers. In fact, all the Stormhawks were teachers. They all had kids. Finn and Suzy Lu, they couldn't have kids, not because the whole cross-species breeding thing, because as I said, Repton and Starling were capable of that, but because Suzy Lu was unable, she couldn't have kids. She could not, she was unable of having children, so they adopted a child they found after a Cyclonian raid, was left, an abandoned baby, and they raised it as their own. Then you had Junko's daughter, Daisy, she was goddamn adorable and hilarious to write. Stork had a kid as well. What was the kid's name? I don't actually know. Stork didn't have kids. He was like, nope, I'm not having kids. Nope, not having those little bastards. And he was actually, again, he was one of the teachers of the school, and usually was the one who ended up running around trying to keep the kids in line. Because they were all... Because Theo, like I said, Theo, Theo, Arrow's son, was more or less, he was his father's son. Let's put it like that. So, yeah. God, like I said, there were just so many characters, and I'm really happy when Jason Voorhees 2011 came to me and said, "Hey, when I'm doing this crossover, can I use some of these characters?" I was like, "Hell yeah, you can use these characters." And it's so cool to see them, because it's not only adding to an already now big universe. It's now adding on to that story. Obviously you've got Transformers and Sky Knights throwing down. We got that going on, but now you have these new characters that are adding new elements to these old stories, because the story, for those who don't know, it's pretty much it's a big what-if story. What if the Transformers happened, ended up during the Stormhawk series? So it's kind of like retellings of episodes of Stormhawks. So that's kind of what it was for the that's what it is. That's pretty much what it is. It's awesome. I always recommend you guys check it out. And yeah. Shit, what else do I say? Because I've just lost my because like I said, there were just, like I said, so many characters that I had created for this series, but my mind's going blank, and now I'm just kind of talking about shit, and I need to stop. Yeah. So anyway, I guess I'll stop. So you guys tell me, what do you guys think of all these different characters? You guys like them? You guys hate them? Just comment below, let me know. And once again, go check out Stormhawks versus the Transformers: War on Atmos. That's Jason Voorhees 2011's story right there. Anyway, once again, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I'm out.